Hello there and welcome. In this video, we are going to be focusing on the pre-race tire strategies. Basically, I'll be setting up a bunch of different strategies for each race weekend, giving you an idea of some of the different strategies that you can employ, both if you start at the front of the grid like we are, or at the back of the grid, and also how you can then go into the reports here and kind of calculate which tire is going to hold an advantage over another tire for basically each race. I'm going to basically be showing you the method of calculation that you can take advantage of in order to figure this out. Now, as I mentioned here, this video is going to be focusing on the tire strategies themselves, so there's not going to be a lot of in-game tips and tricks, if any. We're just going to be focusing on setting up a pre-race tire strategy before kind of the race itself begins, and race strategy in the race itself is probably going to be a different video. Wet racing is also going to be a different video. This one is going to be focusing on dry races, so keep that in mind. Now, if there's any questions, as usual, feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll do my best to respond. I've been a little bit slow lately, so I apologize for that, but hopefully I'll be a little bit quicker this time around. If this video ends up being helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, as that helps me out a ton. So let's just get right into this. Before we get into the tire strategies for each track, I want to go over how we can calculate, or rather get a good idea of which tire is going to be best for any given track. If you go into your pre-race report here, you will get a compound performance chart, which gives you an idea of just how quick a tire is compared to another, and also how big the difference is in terms of the time loss per lap. In our case, here we can see that the soft tire has almost 0.6 advantage over the medium tire. And we also see that the degradation between them is like the degradation difference, 0.9 minus 0.6, 0.3. The degradation difference is 300, and the average lap difference starting out is almost 0.6. Now, to make the calculation a little bit easier here, we just take those 0.6. It's actually a little bit less, but we'll use 0.6 to just make the calculation easier. And we take those 0.6, which would be 60 hundredths, and we split them on those 300ths of difference that the medium and the soft tire has, giving us 20. So with just that simple calculation, if a car, or rather two drivers, start on the soft and the medium tire, the soft tire will have an advantage for 20 laps. That is when they become equivalent to a medium tire, and after that, the medium tire gains advantage over the soft tire. Now, we can of course do the same calculation here for, say, medium to hard, and in this case, the medium tire is close to 0.5 quicker a lap. The gradation difference is just 100, so again, 0.5 is 50 hundredths, the gradation difference is 100. So the reality of the situation here is a medium tire and a hard tire run on standard. The medium tire will have an advantage for close to 50 laps. So as you can imagine, at Bahrain, we don't want to use a hard tire unless we really, really have to, because there's just no point. The medium and the softs are going to be a lot quicker in most situations. And we can actually kind of confirm this by just going into our strategy planner here, which will give us an estimated race time based on the strategy that we have employed. And if we pick, say, the hard tire and the medium tire here and the soft one, we can see that it's going to be, for the most part, slower than most other strategies, with the exception of the one-stopper here. And that is kind of as we expect with, difference degradation. Now, the strategy that I would recommend to employ around here is actually this one, where you go for two line softs and you try and burn up the medium as quickly as possible. We need to use a medium tire, so we want to burn it up as quickly as possible, because remember, a soft tire holds the advantage of the medium tire for 20 laps. So if you can stay on a soft tire for 20 laps, we want to do that. And here's also the interesting part. Degradation-wise, a soft tire around here, you're not really saving much by running, say, standard over conserve here, or rather light. And this also gives us a lot of freedom in our tires towards the end of the stint. Basically, with the remaining tire here at the end of the stint, you can go full attack with 4 or 5 laps remaining before pit. And it also gives you a lot more freedom to use your tires to actually get overtakes going. So that is why I would recommend using this strategy. But again, you can mess around with the planner as you see fit. You can do something like this. But as you can see, Second, when you run aggressive here, we actually start losing a little bit of time. And the reason for that is basically the fact that we are speeding up the degradation of the tire a little bit too much here. Because the softs are so quick, without any sort of, basically, the soft tires around Bahrain are quick enough that as long as we don't degrade them too quickly, we're not really going to be losing a lot of time. You can even run them conserve if you can keep within the temperature. And in this case, we could try and be super cheeky and do something like this. But again, one stops aren't really a thing here. You have to use, you will most likely do a two stopper. You could try something really, really cheeky like this one. Probably something similar, more similar to this though. But even then, you're not really going to be saving a huge amount of time, but it is an option. And this is probably going to be better simply because, as I mentioned, you have more freedom to run attack, to push, to get overtakes done. So this is what I would recommend for Bahrain. But a lot of these strategies, just a heads up, is going to require you to run quali manually in order to make sure you have two soft tires. When it comes to Jeddah, one of the fastest strategies on paper is going to be a hard, medium, and soft, all on full attack. There's a couple of things that we need to consider before we do a strategy like this. Jeddah is generally very hard, so degradation is usually a little bit higher than anticipated, which means that this could very, very well backfire. Do keep that in mind, particularly on tracks in the desert or tracks that get really hot like Jeddah and Qatar, Barcelona also to some lesser degree. Those two have a tendency to not follow the degradation plan. And again, the way that the degradation works here, just to make this absolutely clear, is that this is if you follow the instructions on the tires, if you will. Basically, if a tire says that its maximum temperature is 130 degrees, the second you go over 130 degrees, you are going to start just falling off massively. So do keep that in mind. You have to make sure that the tires stay within the maximum temperature while running full attack to make this work, which can be very difficult in Jeddah. Secondly, overtaking is a bit of a problem around this place, so it might be better to do like a one-stopper. It's about 3 seconds slower than this strategy, but it'll generally get the job done. And there are different ways you can do this, but this is generally what I would recommend. It is easier to overtake this in the game, so you can very well go ahead and make strategies that kind of require you to do a little bit more overtaking than last year's game. But for Jeddah, I'd probably recommend one of these two strategies. And also, just to keep in mind here, there is a bit of a rule in how we want to set up strategies in terms of what we want to run attack, what we want to run aggressive, what we want to run standard, if that makes sense. And I want to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here by showing you all three tires and the expectations that we have from them. So when it comes to degradation, of course, the softs degrade quicker, the quickest, mediums degrade in the middle, and hards degrade the slowest. Now, what this actually means is that we should, if a strategy requires it, run the hards on attack. Basically because we can get more out of the hards than if we run, say, a soft tire on attack. As you can see, the soft tire here is going to die within 13 laps around this place. If we compare that to a hard tire, which can go 25 laps, it's definitely more efficient to use a hard tire for attack or aggressive strategies. And the same with the mediums. If we have room for burning a tire, like say that this is our strategy. This is a strategy that we're going to employ, and we have a lot of spare tire here, both for the hard and the medium. A general rule of thumb is we want to burn the harder compound. That is going to save us more time than if, say, I flip this around and we burn the medium compound. As you can see here, we can also do a little bit of hard burning there. But as you can see, we only save 3 seconds versus if we burn the hard compound rather than the medium one, we save 4. And again, we can also tune the medium up a little bit if we do see the need. But as you get the idea here. Basically, if we have to run a compound on attack, we'd prefer for it to be the harder compound first, then the, softer compound, simply because you can run it for a longer time. And that is the slowest compound to begin with. So getting a little bit extra pace out of it by running attack can be really, really worth it. I hope that made sense. If not, just ask questions in the comments and I'll do my best to respond. For Australia, I once again recommend a light soft into a full attack medium into another light soft. It is one of the fast strategies you can do, basically because you can run attack towards the end. This strategy right here would be faster, as you can see, but it does leave you vulnerable simply due to the fact that there is no real tire left. So this one is going to be faster in actuality because you can run attack towards the end. And with 2 soft stints there, you should be able to make up any losses in terms of, those 2 seconds. Now, one stopper is viable around here, but generally it's going to be quite a lot slower, but it can be something that you might want to consider if you are struggling with getting past the cars ahead of you. It's generally not a problem in this year's game, so we aren't really going to be doing 1-stoppers. For most tracks, we're going to be focusing on 2-stop strategies. There are, of course, some tracks like Jeddah, like Imola, where that is going to be the exception. But for most tracks here, we're going to be focusing on 2-stoppers, and for Australia, this is the one that I would recommend. Suzuka is going to be, once again, one of those tracks where a variant of medium soft is going to be the best. And you can run aggressive medium into 2 regular softs, or you can go full on light into a full attack medium. Again, run that medium all the way to the ground, run those lights a little bit aggressive towards the end. But generally, both of these strategies are going to be very similar in pace. So if you want to play it safe with aggressive medium, standard softs, that's fine. If you want to be a little bit more kind of careful, try and secure yourself against safety cars, which are very common around here, you can run a light softs and gamble on either red flag or a safety car. Now, hard tires are somewhat viable around here. As you can see, this one is very similar in terms of pace to the other 2 strategies, just a couple of seconds slower, but it does generally also leave you with less tire available. But because hard degradation is generally less than what is shown, this can definitely be a viable strategy here around Suzuka. So you actually do have quite a few options, but I would probably recommend saving the hard tire in case we get that safety car as I mentioned. And if you want to really, really gamble on that, it is actually possible to do a 1-stop around here. Shanghai offers our first sprint weekend, and we can actually take advantage of a strategy here in kind of an interesting way, in the sense that generally most strategies will perform kind of the same. You can go all in using a hard tire here. It's going to be slower than using a medium. So generally, I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend doing a variant of a light run on either a medium or a soft tire. Generally here, the soft tire is probably going to be the better bet. You'll still have a chance to go aggressive towards the end. The medium gives you a lot more freedom, though, to, say, run light, then run a little bit more aggressive when you need to do overtakes. But generally here, I probably recommend running a light soft or a light medium for Miami, depending on your situation. The AI is generally pretty bad at managing tire wear during sprints, so you should be able to build up a tire advantage and then come back and get a good result towards the end. For the main race itself, you actually have a lot of freedom in what strategy you want to employ. As a basic strategy here, like the soft, medium, soft that we usually do, is about as quick as 2 hards and a medium and full attack, medium hard into a soft and full attack, and also just a soft, medium, soft, on standard. So strategy here, a lot of freedom. The thing here is AI will burn the tires quite a bit, so taking care of your softs can really, really benefit you. But also running more aggressive and building confidence if you have saved an extra hard from practice could potentially be optimal here, in the sense that if your tire preservation is high enough, your degradation is going to be low enough on these hards that you'll probably end up saving a little bit more time. So keep that in mind. But a lot of freedom here. Use what you think is best. If you need to, say, burn a tire early on in order to, if you want to pit early, if you start towards the back of the grid, you want to do undercuts, which is very, very powerful this year. You could just change this one around, do the medium, burn that one down first, then 2 light softs. So you have a lot of freedom really in the strategy that you want to use here. For the Miami sprint here, the choice is most likely going to be between a light soft, which I would recommend. I will be recommending probably a light soft or a light medium for every sprint, in the sense that you save a lot of tire, which is going to allow you to attack towards the end. And generally, the AI is very aggressive at the start of sprints. They burn a lot of tire, which means that although you'll be a little bit slower for the first 10 or so laps, you are getting that time back towards the end of the race anyways. Now, mediums would be about 5 seconds slower here, but you could also do some cheeky stuff like trying to run them full attack till the end. That's probably a little bit risky though, and let's face it here, you'll be able to close down those 3 seconds with the excess soft that you would have at the end. The hard tire is viable here on full attack till the end, and honestly can be very, very powerful, but keep in mind you also might want to save one for the race. For the race itself here, we are going back to a trusty 2 light softs with a full attack medium. You can also do 2 softs and a hard. It's slightly slower, not by much, 3 seconds, but it is viable. And once again, I just want to use this race as a good example of why we want to run our hard on attack rather than our medium. And as you can see here, the difference between these 2 strategies here, C and D, where we run the medium attack versus the hard on attack, is 8 seconds. Means that this strategy is 8 seconds slower than this strategy, and again, it's just one of those reasons why we run the harder attack rather than the softer compound in a strategy. The softer compound here being medium because it's softer than the hard, not the softs, the Tyre. Generally, this is probably the best that you can hope for around here. You can, of course, mix things up with a safety car, but I am a fan of the light strategies. For Imola, as I mentioned, you are going to be most likely doing a one-stopper, either a medium to a hard or a soft to a hard. And the reason for this is very simple. Degradation here on the different tire compounds is pretty equal. Every tire is kind of the same, to the point where even just running an aggressive medium into a regular hard is going to lose you time. You could try also to do a 2-stopper, running aggressive set stints there, but generally that's going to be just as quick or around the same as just running the one-stopper. And of course, the benefit of running the one-stopper is that you don't lose a lot of time in traffic. So one-stopper, either medium to hard or soft light to hard, is going to be the best around here. Monaco, and once again, a trusty 2 softs, and the medium on full attack is going to be our choice of tire here. If you don't have 2 softs, running a full attack hard into medium and then a soft is still a viable strategy. Generally here, I don't recommend one-stoppers in Monaco because generally they just aren't going to be quick enough. And even if I go ahead here and make a one-stopper that has a soft and say a medium, it's in most cases not going to be a lot faster than doing this strategy. As you can see, it's going to be better than the hard into medium, but soft tires are really, really powerful around Monaco. So we want to take advantage of that by running them light, which means that we take care of them, slow degradation down, take advantage of the fact that they're much quicker than the other 2 compounds. That's kind of the whole idea behind running light softs and running, full attack on the medium or a hard tire, depending on what the strategy is demanding. But around Monaco here, this should work out just fine. We are starting on the soft tires, so we can go long and hopefully not have to pit into too much traffic. For Canada, interestingly enough, an effective strategy is actually a soft to a hard one-stopper. Now, it's going to be better than a medium to hard by a couple of seconds, and it's actually going to be about as quick as doing a 2-stopper with a full attack medium running standard softs. And here's the kicker: as you can see, this strategy is just as quick with standard softs as if we ran the softs on aggressive for the entire stint. And that's kind of also, again, just going back to the fact that degradation plays a part in your time here. And in that sense, if you run the soft zero on light, you're 2 seconds slower. But again, you can run attack towards the end of these stints and get the most out of the last little bit. And that's going to save you more than 2 seconds down the road. So once again, probably going to stick with 2 light softs into a full attack medium. But if you feel bold, this strategy should work out just fine. And you can even flip it around where you start on the hards and go full attack to try and get some early confidence, and then finish off with a light soft stint. For Spain here, we have another variant of 2 lights and a medium. We're going to be running the medium on standard here though. We can also incorporate, say, a hard tire the same way. But Spain is one of the highest degradation tracks on the calendar, and as such, you don't really have a lot of freedom in the strategy that you want to employ. Even a medium soft, it's not going to be a lot quicker than the hard tire or the 2 softs and a medium. This is just going to be the best that you can work with. The AI will generally also cook the tires a bit, giving you a bit of more of an advantage towards the end of this race. But as you can imagine, there isn't really too many options here in Spain due to the high degradation. For Austria, I'm actually going to recommend that you go with a light medium for the sprint itself, as a light medium and a light soft are very equal in terms of, time. But you're going to have a lot more medium tire left towards the end that you can use to run attack and get a few overtakes done. You could also potentially go for a full attack hard, but once again, since hards are valuable here, wouldn't really recommend that unless, of course, you think you'll be fine with not having one for the race itself. Austria is also one of the tracks where we're going to go away from our usual double soft into a medium and instead employ the hard tire. Now, because of the way degradation works around here, if you're running a medium on light or standard, it's not going to really make a difference over the course of the stint. So we're going to stick to light and try and go a little bit more aggressive towards the end, like we usually do. And while we could try and, of course, get more out of the hard tire, genuinely it's just going to waste you a little bit of time, so we're going to be running that on full attack. Other options that you have is going to be a one-stopper. It is about 4 seconds slower than the two-stopper, but again, things like getting stuck behind other cars. Austria is a DRS-heavy track, so it's very likely that you'll be fighting a lot if you do the double pit stop, and over the course of that, you could lose more than 4 seconds. So the one-stop is still very, very viable, but it's going to be highly dependent on your car, and in that sense, are you going to be struggling with the midfield? Maybe this is for you. Are you going to be able to clear cars easily? This is probably going to be for you. And again, it's one of those things you're going to have to kind of see for yourself more so than anything. This is going to be the fastest, probably the more recommended one. I'm probably going to do something like this most of the time, however, just gives a little bit more freedom. When it comes to Great Britain, we can still maintain our trusty 2 lights and a medium on attack. You can also do a different variant of this where you run the 2 softs on standard, medium and aggressive, and it's going to be pretty similar in terms of pace for the entire race. There's no problem doing that. A one-stopper is potentially viable, but generally is going to be just a tad slower than if you were to do a two-stopper, to the point where probably not going to be worth it here. You can also do an aggressive strategy here with a hard into a medium into a soft, but that is not going to be much quicker than just doing 2 softs anyways, but it's an alternative if you don't have 2 softs available. Hungary is interesting because it leaves us in a position where we're not going to be able to use our trusted tool, the 2 softs and a medium, simply because the medium doesn't have enough tire to survive going anything more than just standard, even with 2 light softs. As such, we're probably going to do a combination of all 3 tires, and honestly, this track is one where getting an extra hard can be very, very viable. Other strategies here are kind of the same in terms of pace. You can do what we usually do with 2 light softs into full attack hard, but it's going to be very comparable to the other strategies here in terms of pace. And for this one, we can probably actually do a little bit of tweaking, but as you can see, because of degradation, if you run the medium on aggressive, it's not actually going to change anything. We're still going to be spending about the same amount of time on the tire, so it doesn't actually have any effect. Now, you could do something really cheeky here by, say, running a hard tire on light, but honestly, it's going to be the same as running a medium on light, so it doesn't really work here. Probably this is the best that you can hope for, but I am open to be proven wrong. Interestingly enough, Belgium 2 also breaks the pattern of 2 light softs and a medium, as degradation here is not too severe, so even if you run them on light, you're not really going to save much. You can do it, but you're still going to have so much time to use over the course of this race that it's not really going to make much of a difference. In fact, one of the fastest strategies around here is actually just going to be a very old classic from 22 and early 23, which is just full attack, all 3 compounds, and that is genuinely going to be one of the fastest strategies around here. It's a very short pit lane. You can definitely take advantage of safety cars, but yeah, one stoppers, 7 seconds. It's fairly quick, let's be honest, but it's still 7 seconds slower, so I probably still recommend doing this in Belgium. For Zandvoort, the classic for this year has once again turned up. 2 softs and a medium, 2 lights, 1 full attack, and work kind of the same no matter which way you put it up here. We also do have a medium into hard one-stopper, which is going to be about a pit stop slower, or not a full pit stop, but close. You get the idea with 20 seconds. And the AI suggests that we pull a 3-stopper, which I probably would not recommend. Now, in terms of using a hard tire on this track, it is probably viable, but degradation is high here. As you can see, we can burn a hard tire on a fairly short track in just about 20 laps. And as such, we do need to be careful with how we do it in terms of strategy with that. And if we were to do that, as you can see, it's going to be somewhat equal to this one. It's still about 5 seconds slower than the bread and butter, I guess you could say. Monza is another one of those few tracks that unless you have a safety car or one stopper is most likely going to be your best bet. Medium to an aggressive hard seems to be your best choice. A soft to a medium is also an option, but is about 4 seconds slower. And while we could try the old and trusted here, it's going to be 7 seconds slower than a one stopper. And there's no point in doing extra pit stops if, well, you're already losing time. You could try a more aggressive move here by doing a two-stopper with a medium and hard and full attack into a lighter soft, but it's not going to be quicker than this one, so one stopper here is probably going to be your best bet. For Baku, we have very little degradation of the tires, which allows us to do just a one-stop race with a medium to hard and full attack, or even a standard soft to a full attack hard. I'd probably recommend this one if you're doing a one-stop strategy, as it's going to be pretty fast, but the two-stop strategies here are going to be fast for the most part. I don't really recommend doing anything involving a, save a slow into a medium. It's not going to really work. Save a soft, not a slow. And most likely you're going to have much better luck here by running a full attack, soft, medium, soft stint. It's going to be probably the quickest one around here. You could do the same thing with all three compounds. I've actually made a little bit of a mistake here. And with that, you are probably going to be very similarly paced to the other strategies, if you will. And you can kind of see it here. Both of these are around the same, but honestly, this one might be a little bit quicker, and starting on the hard here does give you some variety. The only thing you need to keep in mind is the soft tire is the fastest compound around here, so we'd like to be on that if we can. But definitely having the extra hard tire, or medium tire, if you will, from this strategy can definitely help you out, particularly if you don't have two softs to begin with. For Singapore, one of the quickest strategies you're going to be able to find is most likely going to be another combination of soft, medium, soft, but with a standard medium stint, as degradation is fairly high here. Softs are very valuable, as you can see just from the fact that most things that have soft in them is going to be fairly quick. In this sense, this is probably going to be the quickest. You could try something like this, but hards really is not the way to go around here. And while you could do a one-stopper with a light, medium into standard hard, this strategy is going to be about 6 seconds quicker, and you're going to have a little bit extra time to go on compared to the medium to hard one. So I'd recommend doing something like this, but as said, probably some options here that I am not considering. So if you find a better one, feel free to let me know. For the COTA sprint, I would recommend doing a light medium stint. The soft stint is going to be slower, and also you'll run out of tire. And the hard tire is once again going to be about the same in terms of pace, but you have more medium tire towards the end, which is going to be important to get overtaking done. Now for the race itself, the quickest strategy is most likely going to be a medium into two attack hards. Keep in mind though that you are going to most likely need to take some manual control over practice to have these tires available to you. Other than that, a soft into two hards can work as well, but it's going to be a good 7 seconds slower. And most of these other strategies do end up around the same kind of time frame. There's not really much you can do with the tires available to you. Soft to medium can also work, but generally here, a medium into two hards is rather quick, so I would recommend that around COTA. At Mexico, our old and tested two light softs into a medium is once again our best option. And while you can do a full attack hard into medium and then soft, it would still be pretty much the same as running this one. One stopper is also viable, but it's 9 seconds slower. And while the suggested strategy here is fairly decent, it's basically pretty much the same as strategies that we've kind of set up here. For the Brazilian sprint, I would recommend running just a standard medium, while a hard and full attack can be viable. It leaves you vulnerable towards the end, and the same can kind of be said for a soft on light. Medium is just as quick and gives you a little bit more tire. And if you want to, you can run it on light, but 2 seconds lost and you don't really save that much tire altogether. It is still a viable option. For the race itself, the best strategy here is actually going with two hards and full attack and a medium. The soft light into medium does kind of work here still, but it's going to be slower than just straight up going full attack and having a medium. One stopper is viable, but quite slow. And also, again, just starting on the medium, doing 2 softs is pretty, again, it is pretty viable. This is going to be the decisively fastest. And of course, there probably is a strategy here that I'm not considering, potentially using 2 mediums. Fortunately, I don't have them, so do keep that in mind. For Las Vegas, one of the fastest strategies is going to be 2 mediums into a hard. Or if you don't have 2 mediums, use a soft into medium into then hard. And honestly, it's going to be about 10 seconds quicker than most of these other strategies, mainly the one stops, which is what you would generally be doing here. So do keep that in mind. Could not really be something I would recommend too much though, because you are going to end up in a situation where you will have to make your way through traffic. Since Vegas has a lot of DRS zones, that's going to make that a little bit rough. But 2 stop strategy here can be up to 12 seconds quicker than a 1 stop, so do with that as you will. For Qatar, I made a mistake, and the sprint, you are going to want to do a light soft or a light medium. Generally, the AI struggles during sprint with tire degradation, so a light soft or a light medium should do the trick. Now, for the race itself, the quick strategy is going to be probably a combination of light softs and a medium, but light softs and a hard can do the same trick. But one of these 2 strategies is generally going to be the quickest. And while you can do a 1 stopper here, genuinely not really recommended, as you would have to run a conserved soft into a light medium. And that is quite a lot quicker than running a soft into a hard. And if you want to try the other variant, if you will, it's not really going to be much quicker, just a second. So really, your best option here is going to be 2 softs and a medium, or just a soft into medium 1 stopper. For Abu Dhabi, your most viable strategy is most likely going to be the classic, to light the softs into a medium to bridge the gap. While there is a potential for a 3 stopper being faster, it's not going to be fast enough that it would make up basically that extra pit stop, is what I'm trying to say. 1 stoppers are also somewhat viable around here. As you can see, they're 5 seconds slower than if you were to do a 2 stopper. But you can do it, and it is reasonably quick if you don't want to deal with traffic. With that said though, that is it though for tire strategies for every track. Hopefully I have given you an idea of something you can do. In particular, the double soft into medium is a very good choice for most tracks, so hopefully that has been helpful. Now, if you feel like you have a better strategy or a better idea, feel free to let us know in the comments. And for those of you who feel like the strategies that you've seen here are too boring, too generic, have a look in the comments, and maybe someone else has come up with a genius strategy that is outperforming mine massively. I would appreciate it if you did. Other people who are watching this video would. So if you have a good idea for a strategy, post it in the comments, and we might revisit this video at a later time with an update where I might use your suggestion. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.